job market right now?
Terrible.
Next.
I want to cry.
Yeah, that was 3 words.
Sorry.
It's right from business.
I cannot count, that's why I'm not going to.
What do you think about the job market?
Tough.
Yeah. Despair. Yeah. Okay. No, but wait, we're supposed to be encouraging here. Yeah. So
Guys, don't live in delusion. It's fine.
yeah. So yeah, I would say like. Yeah, I would say like, build up your hard skills like butchering too.
Yep.
Okay.
You never know.
No, I would say ever since COVID, like the job market has not really like fully recovered to pre-COVID levels, and I think internationally there's also like a global slowdown. So it's inevitable that we have faced a lot of rejections, but the important thing is how do you deal with the rejections and like bounce back from them. Yeah, do you all have anything to share from your experiences?
Cry first.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let it
Cry
sink
first.
in.
Yeah.
Take your time, cry first.
Really look in the mirror and say it is because of you. Okay,
Yo, no.
Hi everyone, welcome to 𝙿𝙊𝙾𝙃. 𝙿𝙊𝙾 is where we connect the dots in life's journeys through real conversations, and today we have Taran Yeesen and Alexis here as my co-hosts. Yeah. Do you want to give a self-introduction first?
Okay, I'll start with So I'm Yeesen. I'm year 4 information systems student, and so I've been interning for the past 1.5 years. So I started off in Vietnam as a software engineer in this startup, and then followed by SAP, which is this German MNC, and then now currently I'm in a government agency, 𝙈𝙘𝙾, as a cloud engineer.
I'm Taran. I'm year 4 business. I started interning back when I was in year 1 because I was kanchiong and I thought I would lose out. I was at SAP as well. I was doing some non-profit marketing kind of a thing. Then went on to KPMG after that to do a bit of consulting. Most recently, I was at this company called Haleon, which offshooted from GSK. So they take care of all the consumer healthcare products like Panadols and so on. And I was doing go-to-market strategy for them. So yeah, just a bit of a background.
Interesting. And you are specializing in?
I'm specializing in finance and business analytics.
And a bit more about my background. I'm a year 4 business student, same as Taran, and I'm specializing in marketing. So previously I did quite a big mix of different internships from BreadTalk Group to Sephora, P&G, Procter & Gamble, as well as Visa, the payments company. So, and also like a startup in Vietnam. So it's like quite a wide range of different experiences. Yeah. So for today's topic, we'll be asking more about how you managed to get these internships, like what have you been doing in school or in your internships to kind of like improve your career options, and any tips that you have to share on the reality of things right now. Yeah. So perhaps to start off, could you share a little bit more about how you managed to get your offer at SAP, for example, or your current one at 𝙈𝙘𝙀?
Okay, so I'm a computing student, so it's a bit more technical. And I think for SAP itself, their interview process is quite different for departments, so just take it with a pinch of salt. I think most importantly, you have to make sure that your technical skills are up there. So for computing kids out there, I think they know just write a bit code. You have to be very focused on what do you want to do in the software engineering scene. So you want to do, for example, like front end or back end, different aspects of software engineering, and what exactly are you really good at that you can provide for the company itself. So when they ask you certain questions, like, oh, actually, I'm really good at this, I'm really good at this, and I believe like for your company, you're focused on this kind of technology, I definitely can bring value to you. Yeah, so that's mostly the interview.
So it's like doing your research.
Yeah, correct. So you have to make your research, what the company actually wants, what they value, and also what they need. And then what do you have that aligns with all this?
What do you provide?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, then afterwards, of course, you must be able to talk to them as well, because having all this knowledge in your brain doesn't hold no value if you don't put it across to them. They wouldn't know what you're good at, or they wouldn't know what you can provide to them.
Must know how to communicate.
Correct. So so you have to be technically strong, and so you also have to communicate well with them. Then for 𝙈𝙘𝙀, I think it was quite a simple interview process. So I think just one round. So they just interview you, ask certain question, ask you to do some, ask you very technical questions, and then ask what kind of projects you like to work on, things like that. Whether whatever you like aligns with whatever they need.
For me, I think a wide variety of interviews, because all of my internships have somehow been very different from each other. SAP, I actually heard about the role from my marketing prof, because the hiring director was an ex-student of hers. So she sent out the job description in the WhatsApp group chat with the rest of the marketing class, and then applied for it, sent in an email, and just had a call with the director. It was really more of a personality fit kind of a thing, where you're trying to sense, what am I expecting of the internship, how am I like, and it was really just all about that. So it was a quick 30-40 minutes, and after that I got the role. So I think it's not very representative, because it's a very one-off kind of a role that doesn't tend to happen that often. KPMG was a bit unique. It was supposed to be one interview with two interviewers. Last minute, one of the interviewers, who was supposed to be my manager as well, was not able to make it. So it's just a one-on-one. It was a mix of fit and case interview. So the fit part again is really to understand who you are, what are your motivations, why do you want to join the company, why do you want to join consulting in particular. And something unique about KPMG is, if you apply to consulting, you don't apply generally, you apply to a specific department. So they wanted to see why I said I'm applying to that specific department. So I applied to the customer management and customer relationship department. So it's a bit more, the question was a bit more in line with that. The case itself, I think I'll explain a bit further later, but consulting firms in general are very different in terms of the kind of cases that they do. KPMG in particular, the kind of case that I did was a bit of a read, answer questions, and then kind of a presentation at the end of it. So I was given like 8-10 minutes to prepare after I read the paragraph and the questions. After I prepared, I presented it. I don't think I kind of impressed the interviewer. She seemed quite stoic in her response, and I thought it didn't go well. So at the very end, I did ask her for feedback. I was like, how do you think I did? And she said, your case was not great. I'm cutting you a bit of slack because you're a year two. It's very clear you have no experience. And somehow she felt that I could learn. So I was very grateful that some answers of mine was able to put that across. So I think, honestly, it was a fit portion that saved me more than my case portion. So if you're applying to consulting, please remember fit is important. But so that really, really saved me in that sense. And then for the final one, when I was at Haleon, I did go-to-market strategy. Again, something different. It was in-house strategy for the company. One-off interview with the hiring manager. Quick 30 minutes. And this was very unique because I think he looked at my resume and he was like, okay, I think more or less it fits a bill. So he got me to talk for like 10 minutes to share a bit more about myself and my interests and why I'm applying. And then the rest of the 20 minutes he spent explaining what he wanted me to do while I was there. Again, I got very fortunate, I would say, that he kind of finalized me before the interview even started. So KPMG for sure was the hardest one I've done. Of course, I've done a lot more interviews since then for even my upcoming roles, but I'll talk a bit about that later if need be.
Do you feel like, since you said KPMG is the hardest, do you feel like it's because you mentioned you're in year two also, right?
Yeah.
And then after that you say like when you got to like Haleon, which is much later on, they looked at your resume and they're like pretty much okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's kind of like you build up your experiences until they like, okay, there are things that can prove that you have learned in other companies before, and then they trust that lah. That's why they just want to talk to you to see if you really fit the role that they are looking for.
Yeah, for sure. I think it also depends on the nature of the company you're applying to. Haleon is pretty new. They just offshooted from GSK. So they're hiring pretty aggressively in that sense. If you're applying to, let's say, a top consulting firm or any other top MNC, for example, they have multiple rounds of interview. I think Alexis can share about PNG. They have multiple rounds, for example. And even your MBBs, your McKinsey, BCG, and Bain will have at least, for internship itself, will have at least 3 to 5 rounds of interviews for full-time as well. And there they really go in depth to see how well do you know your content, how good of a case interviewer you are, how's your critical thinking and your analysis process. Are you able to really get to the niche or not the niche rather, but to the fine points of the problem? Are you able to give any particular insight? So that is different. Again, it really depends on the roles. I would say there is no, if you're looking for slightly more business development, internal strategy kind of roles, then maybe it's a bit more fit and some analysis. If you're looking for pure consulting roles, it's a lot more about the critical thinking and analytical ability, which they really pay a lot of attention to. So if you slip up, once, maybe they'll close an eye, but if you're constantly not able to perform during your interviews, it's very hard for you to kind of break through that barrier in that sense.
And I think something that you mentioned that was really resonated with me was the importance of fit in interviews. And being like a marketing student myself, a lot of my interviews were fit, I would say, is much more important than technical skills as compared to maybe Yeesen's experiences as a software developer. And that's because for business, when you get into the workplace, a lot of what you do is not really relevant to all of your studies, but everything is about learning on the job, how fast you can learn, how well you can work with and manage different stakeholders. So I think that's something that you have to show in the interview, show your amount of confidence and that you are someone who is very personable, so they know that you work well in a team. Yeah. And I think in an interview, usually there's many different rounds, and each round has a different objective. For example, first the HR round, that's just to screen through, see that your vibes are there, you're a serious candidate. And the second one maybe is with the line manager, where they give you your case study for business kids, and for you maybe the practical test.
Correct.
Is that the technical?
They call it technical rounds. So you will have an online assessment whereby they just give you technical questions, you just have to code things out.
Yeah. For us, maybe sometimes we have a task, take-home task, and then we'll have to present it during the line manager interview, or they may even come forward with a sudden case study, which is what happened for my home-based internship, the Vietnamese startup. Yeah, and then there's usually a final round where they kind of want to confirm you, but there's maybe they're deciding between you or one other person, and it's up to whether the higher level director or manager likes your vibe or their vibe. Yeah, so this is where you can really try and show your personality and try and build rapport with your interviewer. Sometimes it's okay to joke around, but just not too much. And also, as you say, ask for feedback. That's a very, very good point, because it shows that you're willing to learn and you're willing to improve. Yeah. So I was wondering more about how you say you have to be very clear on what you are looking for. Are you doing front end, back end, full stack, etc.? And even for you, you also applied for a wide range of internships. So how did you guys zoom in on one thing that you want to do? And what kind of internships did you apply for, and how did you start looking for them? Yeah.
Okay, I think the first part is the first part of the question is to decide whether you want front end, back end, or full stack. Let's say cloud engineering or DevOps. So I think this is really a lot of exploring. So for computing students, right, a lot of the materials or things that you have to explore, most of it are known, because there are a lot of resources, so you can go and from this. And a lot of students, how they actually explore this is they build projects based around this aspect. So let's say you want to do a front end, so that's more on the designing part, coding the front end part. So they would have projects to showcase that. And then if let's say they want to try out the back end part, of course you go to do some back end projects whereby you code out more complicated logic, things like that. And then if you want to do more cloud computing or DevOps, then they do the more infrastructure side. So the way that you really go and find out whether you like this is really get your hands dirty, and then go and just try out the project itself, or join maybe I think NUS have a few CCAs where some of it called FinTech Society or the Google Developer Club. So all these are you can just join and see whether they have a project that interests you, and then just go and jump into it and just get your hands dirty and find out whether you like it. The best way to find out is really just mess around and find out. That's the best way to do it. Then the second part of the question was?
How did you decide on what type of internships to apply for? There are different ways to categorize, maybe startups, MNCs, maybe different cultures. What did you look for?
Okay, so for me, I didn't know what to look out for. That's why I went to apply for a startup, an MNC, and a government. So all three of my internships are all in different kind of context. So like, the first one was a startup. It was okay. So I wanted to try MNC, then I went to SAP. Then I wanted to try government, so I went to URA. So really, it's a lot of exploring, and really is still exploring. So not just like the aspect of software engineering, but also in what kind of company you want to work in. So of course, for like startups, it's definitely more fast paced. You'll be learning a lot of things on the job, and sometimes you don't even have a clear direction or a mentor to guide you along. So things you learn along the way. Then for MNC wise, it's a bit more, I won't say not as fast paced, but definitely slightly slower than the startups. Yeah, but those are companies where you can get a bit more mentorship as well. But of course, sometimes also the projects are less interesting. Yeah, and then for government, it's like a bit of everything depending on which department you're in. So there's no like, I can't say for sure because you don't want to mess our expectations and all. Yeah, so just mess around and find out, and then you decide. Oh, actually, I like backend. And so for me, actually, throughout all the internship, I was like, okay, actually, I'm stronger in terms of backend development. Actually, I prefer that more. I don't like to design the front end things. I'm not very good at designing. Everything looks bad after I touch it. So like, okay, I'm not going to touch it. So okay, I can do logic. I don't like to touch all the more mundane infrastructure stuff. So okay, I'll just stick to backend and then just laser focus on that, and then build your resume around that, and then apply for those relevant jobs as well. Yeah.
Internships are like the best time to explore.
Yeah.
Like before you graduate and find a full time, you commit to it, right?
Yeah.
Like internships, because there's like a timeline to it, like 6 months, 3 months, that kind of thing.
And I think it's the best time to really not say fail, but to try it out. And if you fail, then it's okay. At least you find out to learn.
Your bosses understand.
Yeah, they know that you're an intern. You're here to learn.
Correct.
Yeah, and they'll be more likely to want to mentor you and teach you things.
Correct. Actually, I'm a little bit curious. Like now that AI is a whole thing, right? A lot of people, you can just get code by typing in a prompt. Do you find that companies are increasingly looking for a certain type of developer? Let's say like cloud or like backend, front end, or full stack. Is there any like trends that you are seeing?
I would say that they definitely have more projects regarding AI. Yeah, but the type of developers they are looking for maybe slightly tuned towards the AI side. But of course, AI is like a technology. There are still front end and back ends required to develop AI itself, right? So, I think in terms of the type of people they're looking for, I think not much have changed, but maybe just the knowledge that these people have. Maybe they like it if like you have slightly more AI domain knowledge and things like that. Yeah, so having AI around to they won't exactly replace. I feel. Yeah, because there's still, they call it the black box effect. You don't know what goes in, but you don't know what might come out of the AI. So they still won't trust AI fully with like developmental work. Yeah, it can aid you in the in work, but it definitely cannot replace certain jobs and so on. Yeah.
Understand.
And one thing I picked up from like him sharing his experience, I feel like you can see how he actually didn't really know what he wanted. It's like he explored and then he found his interest. So I feel like for a lot of younger undergraduates out there, they might feel lost, right? Like, I mean, this major, but there's so many options and I don't know what I actually like. So it's like, I feel like you don't have to stress out too much. You can explore your options, take your time in these 4 years to see what you really like and what you really lean towards. And I mean, there are things that you are good at naturally, I would say. You might more likely to excelling in that area, but you don't know if you try it first. Also, there are things that you like more, like you like to do it. I think those are very important in terms of looking for a job.
Yeah, soft skills very important. And I think like for us in business, a lot of people say, why do you choose business? Because you don't know what you're trying to do. You don't want to do. That's why you went to business, right? And we have like, I don't know how many 9 specializations or something in US now. Like HR, finance, accounting, entrepreneurship, real estate. I don't know. Yeah, there's supply chain. Yeah, so I think like
it's very wide.
But the thing is like you only have to confirm your specialization at the end of year 2. So I think really should just take the time to explore. I also did a lot of random internships in HR, in marketing, in product management. Yeah, what about you for Taran? I know besides consultancy, you did some others. So could you share like how did you end up finding your passion and your focus?
So year one, as I mentioned, the SAP internship was really just a jump at an opportunity that comes your way kind of a thing. I was very unaware of what I was doing. All I was aware of was that I don't want to get lost in the crowd. I don't think it was the right way to approach it because I jumped at opportunities, not just internship, but elsewhere that were not 100% effective or they weren't 100% fantastic for me. But it was at that failure that kind of told me, yes, this is not the line you want to take, or this is not something that's relevant to you. It helped me to focus my energy a bit better. So in year two, when I applied to KPMG, it was really more out of, I need something more concrete on my resume because it seemed a bit empty at that point. I had some CCAs here and there, but in terms of real world experience, it was minimal. Because even SAP, I did something that was not very for-profit, it was a non-profit kind of an arm that they had. I enjoyed the work I did at KPMG. It was hard, it was long hours. There were some days I was up until 2 a.m., 3 a.m. getting work done. Not often, but there were days here and there. But I thoroughly enjoyed the amount of research that you put in, the effort that you put in, and to kind of see the effort materialize in front of me, and to know that I made an impact to the company. So that's where I kind of realized, consulting, maybe something I want to pursue. So I did something reverse of what other people do. Most of the time people go for consulting clubs first and then they apply for consulting internships. I did it the other way around. So I applied to KP, got the role. After that, I applied to a couple of consulting CCs. So I was in YNCG, I was in MCC, and I stayed off Urban. So I was in YNCG up until last semester. I'm still in MCC. And those helped me in multiple ways. One was I managed to meet a lot of like-minded people who were able to guide me better. They gave me a lot more understanding of what the consulting industry looks like. I was very unaware of the differences between management consulting and strategy consulting. I was unaware of how much I needed to prepare. I was unaware of what a proper case interview, a 1 hour long case interview looked like. I wasn't sure what each of the firms said. I wasn't sure of what the tiers of the firms were. All of this I learned through meeting all the people around me, from learning from seniors, learning from industry mentors, which were provided very kindly by Management Consulting Club. And from there, I realized I do want to apply for more consulting internships, but I also do want to learn a bit more about internal strategy, because I wasn't sure 100% if I was more interested in strategy work or consulting work. There are some nuances, some differences here and there, because in consulting, you are working for customers regularly. The projects have a deadline, whereas when you're working for internal strategy, it's usually slightly longer. You are taking care of one particular project, and you're looking at it from the start to the very end, including implementation. And that was when I applied not only for consulting firms, but also for Haleon. And I'll be honest, my penultimate year summer, which was my year 3 summer, I got rejected by about 80 or 90% of the firms I applied to. And that was because even though I had experience, it wasn't sufficient experience. There were people out there who were doing a lot more than me. And I was fully aware of that. There were people with consulting leadership experiences. There were people who were doing case competitions. There were people who already had more strategy consulting experience in some boutique firms, for example, or they had product management experience, or they had marketing experience, all of which consulting firms value. And so that kind of kick really spurred me on. So when I saw the job scope at the Haleon, the Haleon job scope, I realized it's something that helps me build a portfolio, a complete portfolio. It builds that strategy direction that I was trying to build, because I had a holistic picture, right? I could tell a complete story. I've done both consulting and internal strategy work, and I'm able to showcase furthermore with my consulting CCAs that this is the direction I'm going. So I only really got a fine understanding of which direction I want to head into in about year 3. So Haleon, my internship just ended in December recently. And I would say because of that internship and because of that complete resume that I was able to build because of these experiences, I got callbacks and interviews from places I got rejected from last year. And it really, it opened my eyes to the idea of how important it is to experiment, yes, to learn from your failures, to learn from what you like and what you not like, but also to kind of really hone down and try to create a complete big picture view that people understand what they're doing. The hiring manager understands what they're doing. They look at it, they're like, yes, I can see they have tried, they have made the effort, they have gotten around to understanding what they want to experience, and now they're kind of honing down and buckling down on it. And I think that's pretty important, especially for industries like consulting. I think even for my friends who are doing finance, IB, for example, they've been doing investment banking internships from the get-go. And that's very important for them. I think there are, of course, some other roles that don't require as much focus from the get-go. But again, from a very consulting experience, I think it's important to hone down and start to get as much experience as you can within that industry to be able to present the best version of yourself.
That's something that I feel very inspired because he mentioned about how it's very important to focus down into that one area or like hone down into that one area, because sometimes when you don't know what's going on, you just do it and then you're like, actually this is still okay, maybe I should continue doing it, and then you can't focus on it and then you see like, hey, actually I'm getting better and better at it, and then sometimes it's really like you actually have a lot to choose from, but you just have to choose it and focus on it. I feel maybe you can excel in two areas, but it would be like hard to say that you're gonna like go full on 100% in two things, right? So sometimes I think it's also about choosing and letting go of some things. And I also want to bring this into like, I feel like it's very important. One aspect is personal branding, I feel. Because like you said, after all the experiences you've been through, and that's where you land yourself in this area. And I think that kind of relates to like how people should like focus on personal branding as well, because that shows like who you are, your experiences, how you got here today.
Update your LinkedIn. Because employers do sometimes ask for your LinkedIn link when they want to see like past experiences you have, reflections on your experiences. I honestly don't update it that much. I just add like, oh, I started a new position at blah.
I do the same thing.
But I don't think that's good. I will try and improve, even though I'm already year 4.
I think just maybe one point to add is, retrospectively, a lot of what I've done makes a lot of sense to me. Like each step was like a domino that resulted in where I am today. I think that people have done a way better job than me. I'm in no way an authority on this.
Humble.
I was like,
that's your next employer. Now we both have that.
No, retrospectively, it makes a lot of sense. Looking back, from KPMG to consulting clubs to Haleon to wherever I'm heading to next, it created a journey. I think it was a very subconscious effort in a way. My main objective was really just to learn. That's all I was trying to do. Whatever I didn't know, I was figuring out ways to learn. I was joining these clubs, I was reaching out to people, seniors, I was trying my best to connect with people, not in a creepy way. Hi, I am a student from NUS, please tell me more. No, I wasn't doing that. It was more of in the situations where I was able to find the right people, I was asking them questions. Being like, when you were in that situation, what was it that you did? What can I do differently? This is what I've done. I haven't made a mistake. I think that small little pieces of learning that came from the most random instances is what helped me spur myself on, because I only started to make a concerted effort from last semester when I was applying for my internships for this upcoming summer. Before that, it was a lot of mass apply, mass shooting it out. It was like spray and pray. You hope you land. But this year, when I applied, it was a lot more focused. I did about 30 or 40 preparation interviews. So I would buddy up with friends of mine from the consulting clubs and stuff. We would sit together, we would interview each other on a regular basis. So I was interviewing maybe 3 or 4 times a week, practicing. And it was only because of that effort and because I understood how much effort was required that I was able to get where I was. I think the first step is really understanding. The second step is implementing the understanding. So if you don't know anything, ask questions, reach out to people. You definitely have seniors who are in similar paths that you would like to go to. Reach out to them. Of course, be nice, be kind. They're humans also. Be friendly, but reach out. That networking aspect of it is very, very important.
So for you, to condense all that you have said, it's asking people for help, asking them for advice, especially seniors, and also making sure that you kind of like build your resume in a way that makes sense.
Yeah.
But of course, that's in hindsight, everything makes sense. In the actual moment, you're just going with the flow.
Correct.
So what about for Yeesen? Like you were building up your resume, did you originally plan to do a startup, an MNC, and a government just to understand the different work cultures, or did it just like happen to end up like that?
I think mostly it just happened like that, right? So the startup one, honestly, that one wasn't even planned. I didn't even plan to internet startup. It was like more of the opportunity came. In that moment, that was the best I could go for. And then you just go for it. Then, after going through that, I was like, maybe start interning in a startup. Wasn't really the best experience. Then, try out the MNC. And when I was trying out the MNC companies, I didn't really think about interning in a government body at the point in time. But only after I go through the MNC route, then I was like, you know what? Let's just try out the last one. And maybe I'll enjoy the government kind of work and all. So I think really it's more of, at the point in time you have this amount of options. Then the moment you take the next step, now you have a new options opening up for you. So really it's just not just like, I won't say just do it. Yeah, but make informed decision.
Yeah.
But don't be scared of going for it. After you go for it, you know that whatever options you have back then was just for back then. Right now it's a whole different thing. Yeah, then from there you slowly branch off and you just end up somewhere that you don't even expect yourself to end up in. But of course, if at the start you have a direction, like what Taran said, right?
Yeah.
Then focus on it, make it your niche, and then that's where you can definitely brand yourself. Like what Joy said, you can definitely brand yourself. Let's say you want to be a front-end engineer, you like it from the start, you managed to get a good opportunity as a front-end engineer, then start to build your portfolio, do your projects, build something nice, showcase it to your employees and things like that. Then after that, dive even deeper, get more advanced skill set, and then go for bigger, better companies. And then from there you can build a career.
So this project that you're talking about to show during your interviews, are they just personal projects, or are you talking about joining competitions, joining CCAs and clubs in school?
It can be, so for computing,
correct,
right?
Yeah.
So it can be anything. If you know how to brand that project, you know how to brand what you did, it can
More
be a
about
project.
framing?
Correct. More of how you convey the idea of what you've done to the employer, right? That's the most important part. You could be just like building, let's say,
And censor your face here if needed.
Okay, yes. Yeah, it can be just like building like a scheduling message application, or like things to like send reminders to your close friends or like your family. It can be a project, even though it's just something that you do out of interest. Yeah. So for hackathons, and you mentioned the hackathon wise, right? I would say showcase it if you want something. Yeah.
Okay.
If you didn't win something, maybe try not to hype it up too much. Yeah, because maybe there's a reason why you didn't win. And it might not be good to put something on the pedestal if you done something from there. Then that wouldn't be nice. Yeah, so that's for hackathon side. And then your own personal project, let's say, for those entrepreneurs, right? They just like to build random things and see whether it works. If it works, bring it up to the market. But if it doesn't, then it doesn't, just put in a resume, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's still something that they can see your effort put in. They can see how your thought process was, then what your interest lies in. And then using that, you can be like, oh, I did this. Like, I'm such a good candidate, something like that. Yeah. So, really depends on how you do it. Yeah.
Is Vina still in the resume?
Yes.
Yes. For context, we were in the same NOC or NUS Overseas College Vietnam, where we interned overseas, which is why we both had a startup intern in Vietnam, different companies. But then we also had to build our own project. So it's called 𝙈𝙤𝙮𝙯. It was this influencer marketing platform. And I think that it actually helped my resume, even though eventually, so we got to the stage where we spoke to customers, we got people who are interested, we did a lot of market validation, like hundreds of interviews, and he also helped to build the Figma prototype. And even though we didn't go to market in the end due to some other market issues, I think it was something very interesting to put in your resume to stand out from the rest, because it was something that people asked me about, and they are very happy to hear that, oh, you're so resourceful, you were in a foreign country, you don't speak the language, and yet you managed to get hundreds of customer interviews, and you managed to go through this whole thought process all in under 6 months. So I think it was something that's very, very interesting, and I think it has helped our resumes. Yeah.
And how you say like it's how you phrase it.
Correct.
Because you can just say, oh, it's like USA. I wouldn't know what is that.
Yeah.
But like you mentioned how like, oh, you were in a foreign country, you were looking at, you did how many surveys, like you surveyed 100 people, you know. I think it's sort of like how you convey the experience, what you built, what you do to build a project.
Yes.
I think that is very important. So that's why you mentioned about communicating it.
Yeah. Framing so important.
Correct.
Yeah. And I think so both of you have also mentioned that actually, even though everything is working out now, everything has worked out in hindsight, but in the actual moment you are just going with the flow, right? And I think that has been the case for me as well. So a lot of the juniors, like year 1s, year 2s, they keep asking me, oh, how did you end up securing internships at, let's say, Visa or Procter & Gamble, which are huge multinational companies? But I tell them, okay, you're just year 1, year 2, you don't have to like stress, because actually my very first internship was in a startup where they paid me like $600 a month. Yeah, so I started off with like very small companies to SMEs to MNCs, and I think throughout and as you mentioned, it's like with each step more doors open for you. So I think like really there's no need to stress too much. Just as long as you have a good attitude and you're constantly trying to like improve, look for opportunities, they will come your way and it will all work out. Yeah.
And I would say also, although they say that you don't need to like stress about so much, but it's good to have a goal in mind, like a overarching goal. So my suggestion is that maybe you can go on LinkedIn to just look at people. So like you maybe like, oh, this person actually have very similar interests as me, and then you're like, maybe one day I want to be there, maybe I'm looking at this role, maybe next time I want to be this position. But this could be like after you graduate, like I don't know, 5 years down the road, and it's not really like I'm aiming for this in 20 years or 10 years. Although it sounds so like hard to reach that you can't like imagine it, but I think it helps in the sense that it guides your every decision. Because for example, I can share my own experience because
Want to hear more? Our next episode drops tomorrow, where we dive into the truth about networking. Does it actually work? And we'll also be sharing our secrets to networking success.
thank you everyone for tuning into this episode, and see you on the next episode of
Connecting the Dots. Okay, we need to do that again. Like after you ask that question, then we'll cut this. Okay, 3, 2, 1, sing.
Thailand.
Say Singapore.
Oh, Singapore.
Then maybe we will get sponsor.
You're talking about countries then.
No, then maybe the next episode will be sponsored by Singapore Tourism Board. Then we'll all get such a That's crazy. Okay.
Favorite country you travel to?
Singapore! Tourism Board, you know who to sponsor. Yeah.